one of the big things with Track-It is you can, if you have half a brain, really honestly, you can kind of install it and let it run and go through the wizards, and it's really intuitive and easy to set up without any help or consulting at all.
Oh, bite your tongue.
Well, you know,
they always need help.
to a degree, yeah, and that certainly doesn't preclude you pitching help. So you know, there's always that. You know, and we don't discourage it necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's really they've really done a good job with it. I don't really have a mock-up or anything to show you. I don't think they'd want me to anyway. But it's really good. We'll just leave it at that. It's a really clean look. It's toned down. It's what you'd expect out of a modern UI. Now, some of the stuff they're doing before that, Android support for barcode. What that is that's basically just a separate barcode interface that's unique to Android, not for iPhone. You know, for years, folks have asked for that. I don't know, do you guys do anything with barcode? Do you sell barcode?
Yes.
Okay. So a barcode option is literally one that's going to that's going to use the phone on an Android device. So
nice.
We may have it for iPhone at some point. I don't know. I think at least in the short term, we have to work a lot tighter with Apple to get access to the camera. That's the weak spot there. That's one of the reasons we the mobile is web as opposed to an app. It just requires more stuff to do.
Yeah. We would probably sell more barcode now that it's you can use Android for it, because the barcoders that they typically have to buy are pretty expensive.
They are. The cheapest is still around like $800 or $900, and upwards of $2,000. So yeah, they're expensive. Yeah. The benefit
as opposed to a Samsung Galaxy, right?
Yeah, which is free every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, when I'm pitching and when I talk about it, I explain that yes, it's because it has a laser, really, and honestly, that is the reason. It's tougher. You can drop it. You can get it at a crazy angle when you drag something, you know, away from a wall to get a desktop that's on the floor, or a server that's, you know, behind racks, without having to pull the whole rack out. Anyway, folks who want to use a phone will be able to, as long as they have an Android. Remote control, actually, I looked at this, and I just realized that I also have remote control over here in the middle box in the 6 to 12 month time frame, so I'm not sure what this next 6-month update is, actually. I can't think of what it would be. We've got 256-bit encryption with it today. Really, the remote update is going to be the one that you want with 12. And that's going to include what I assume to be remote tunneling. I don't know. They might have a third-party type deal, but I doubt it. It'll probably be remote tunneling. It'll probably borrow some technology from whatever it is that we're calling Footprints Asset Core today. So nice. That'd be my guess. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be borrowed from different product lines. You know, the code set will be unique. It's got a unique framework, but if you've used some of the other products and seen some of the other products, you'll probably see some familiarity here and there. Mac Audit really is about finally getting caught up. Right now, we don't support Yosemite, and actually, I should have looked this up too. And El Capitan is going to be released. Anybody there use Mac?
Some of the consultants do, but at the corporate office, I think that they're strictly Windows.
Okay.
Some of my customers are going to want that though already. That's awesome. This looks great.
Yeah, it's going to be. Let's see. I'm looking at El Capitan coming this fall. All right, so we still have a little bit of time for El Capitan, but we'll have that, and then that'll be ready. Well, we were just talking about the developer for this today, so they're just kind of getting started on that. Some of the bigger stuff in 12, besides the fact that the Windows portion is going to be going away, that's going to be the big update. That's going to be a big game changer. Fully web, SQL right now for indexing. Right now we have a search that is independent. It sits in flat files, and it needs to be rebuilt from time to time. It's going to be faster and better and more accurate once we do it through full SQL indexing.
Nice.
Right now, the dashboard here. Well, I'll kind of give you a visual and show you some of the stuff.
Thanks.
Right now, the SQL indexing, the existing search lies. All right. Did I forget where it is? No, there it is. Lies right here. So it's flat file. So if you need to rebuild it, literally you stop the service and you dump everything in this folder, you restart the service and let it rebuild. But it's kept outside of SQL, and that's going to go away in the next version. Form customization, that's going to be, right now you have your work order form, which could also be known as ticketing in Track-It. And you have X number of fields in given locations, and you can't really change that. So in the new version, if you want, 6 fields total, you have 6 fields total. If you want, 40 fields, you'll have 40 fields. So you'll be able to pick and choose what's where and how many fields and whatnot, and a lot greater detail in the next version. Dashboards with drill down, right now they're just dead dashboards. So if you look at a dashboard, it's pretty. It tells you stuff. You can see Pac-Man here and tell what Pac-Man's head versus Pac-Man's mouth is, but you can't drill down from here. So in the new version you can. I've seen that. Dashboards actually look really good too in the new version. So you could pull out a section and then drill into that section. Let's see, address fields for users. Some of the stuff that we're doing kind of has managed service providers in mind because we've had lots of calls from them, and inevitably they have to do a lot of jumping through hoops in order to make it work for what they do. We're going to try to make it easier for those types of folks, and it's going to open up a bigger market. Most of the managed service providers we've talked to have really low budgets, or they're really cheap, or some combination thereof for some obvious reasons, and they're going to be happier with us. Multi-byte language support, I don't think that's going to apply to us unless you sell to Asia at all. Ordering of assignments, there's a couple that go hand in hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. So can we do them sequentially, or so in other words, I have a template, I have 4 different subtasks or assignments with it. I can sequence them 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. It's also going to allow you to potentially kick off 2, and then when those 2 are both complete, kick off another 3. When those 3 are complete, kick off another 2 or 5 or whatever. So you're going to have a lot more control over how that works. That kind of ties in with multiple escalation there. And I have another one, but that might be further on. I'm trying to
multiple approvers and sequential change management?
Yeah. That is, actually that's in the 12 to 18. So we're going to do some changes, and with the current schema, the way change would work, you're actually going to be able to do you're going to be able to cheat a little bit and do multiple approvers, I would think, within multiple escalation and ordering of assignments. You can kind of fake that to a degree. Multiple approvers is really what you want, and then this is really where you get into, I'm gonna heavily disclaim when I use the word ITIL, but it's going to be more ITIL centric. I don't think there's going to be any particular move to, try to be ITIL compliant at all with Track-It, but it's going to follow more of that workflow.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure. Yeah.
With the multiple escalations, now can I choose, right now it's just certain criteria that we're allowed to base those work order events off of and such. Will there be the opportunity to base workflow rules off of custom fields?
That I don't know. I doubt it. Not in the short term anyway. That's building, that's footprints. That's building the entire thing from scratch. That's creating a field, and then what do you want to happen to this field, and here's the 50 different things. That gets into a complexity that, honestly, if I'm asked, I'm going to say that's not important, don't do that. We'd rather not. Because it's
one of the more highly voted feature requests, though, out on your forum, so.
Yeah, people don't really know that gets them footprints.
Yeah, I know. Good luck trying to sell them footprints when you're on a Track-It engagement, but I always just thought, and I was an admin in this product too, I always just thought that that would just take it that little level further that I needed, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It opens up, it makes it a lot bigger. There is also at least a bit of internal, I don't know how you term it, not concern per se, but we don't really want to have a product that other products start thinking that we're encroaching into their realm.
Oh.
So to a degree, we have to keep somewhat segregated from what the other applications in family can do.
Understood.
We don't want people to come down the road and say, hey, I had a footprint stop and now they're looking at Track-It because now Track-It does this stuff. That's going to get lots of angst going on. So not that it has anything to do with me. I don't care, but other folks in the organization do.
Yeah.
Round robin, which we kind of do now with Queue Manager. You guys know Queue Manager is out there, right?
Yeah, it's an add-on. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a free download from an article. We're going to build that in. It'll be pretty similar to what we have now. We're going to use the same code, I think, for that. Email body and email policies. Right now, if you're going to do keyword matching, it's just subject line. This is just a matter of reading anywhere in the email. I don't believe we're going to read into attachments at any point in time, but possible. Right now, it's just email body. Soft delete. They changed the terminology for this. I believe this is ticket recycle bin, is what this means, which I think is what we used to call it.
Okay, so that's for tickets and not necessarily like in inventory or something like that.
No, for inventory, it's delete or it's retire. Although we might have it. I mean, if we're going to have a recycle bin for tickets, I don't know why we wouldn't necessarily have a recycle bin for assets. I'll have to ask about that one.
Yeah.
I don't imagine it would necessarily be that much harder to do if they're going to do it. And that's really what you're going to get with the rollout of 12. And then probably going to have a hot fix or two between there and the next stage, which we're going to add a lot of functionality here as well. Nice. Drag and drop email to create work orders. So, I get a direct email from somebody. I just drag the email on top of Track-It, drop it, and boom, it turns into a ticket. I don't have to do anything else to forward it or any other shenanigans. Calendar integration, so calendar reserve library items as well as technician calendar. And I haven't seen that, so I'm not sure what form that would take. I'm not sure it's going to be more of the footprints model or if it's going to be more of a tight integration with Outlook or something else. I would imagine it's going to kind of tend to be a little bit footprinty, but I'm not sure.
What's interesting to me about that one is the round-robin work order distribution is coming out first for that, and it's like typically you would want to control the round-robin with a calendar too, but it's not footprints.
Yeah, well, we have folks ask all the time, hey, what if so-and-so is on vacation? Well, then the manager gets told that so-and-so is on vacation, and the manager comes over here and pulls them out of the queue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, it's not. It's a mental stumbling block to me. People think it's going to be, a lot of work. Well, it's not really necessarily. I just come in here. Keith is on vacation. Great, pull Keith out. Done. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, it's good management.
Yeah, I would think so too. But when people call in sick and stuff like that, they don't necessarily think to do that right away. So we have that problem with all products for what it's worth.
Yeah, and what's going to happen there is that's going to be one of those where it's a sales question rather than a technical question. It's something that you want to answer yes to and move on to other things. So in that respect, it has great power, and I'm definitely a fan of those types of things. But in all honesty, what happens if you forget to take him out of the queue, you're probably going to forget to set his out of office message anyway. So it's probably still not going to happen.
Yeah. Not to mention all of the tickets that have already been assigned to him that are due that day. So It turns out being more of a management discussion usually.
Yeah, and people really, what they want is they really don't want any particular specific technical thing. They want magic. They're really not going to do magic. But I digress. So calendars for library items. So we are going to improve library and make library more efficient. I'm still not sure what form that's going to take. I'd be a proponent of just building library functionality into inventory, because inventory is really where everybody's doing that anyway. Library and Track-It is just completely independent. There's no integration to inventory, so it's kind of a bummer once you've discovered and audited everything, and then you got to repeat it, enter it in library. And honestly, when I do demos, I don't show library and I don't show training. It just doesn't do enough for me, and it elicits more questions with negative answers than the benefits it provides. That's just personally the way I look at it. Let's see. Assigning purchase orders to work orders, which makes perfect sense, particularly in conjunction with change. You have change management triggering an approval workflow to purchase something. Doesn't it stand to reason that we would want to be able to tie it over to POs? Particularly since POs can tie directly over to software licensing and inventory. So we're going to make that connection. Oh, import-export, which we have not had since Track-It 7. And that's to a degree. I'm not sure how deep it's going to go, but it'll be a cool feature, and it's another one that gives you that powerful yes answer. The import-export, yes, we do. Yeah. Next question. And, there's a lot of those that I get that rather than spending 5 minutes to talk around, I'd rather just, give the half-a-second yes and move on. Let's see, discovery improvements. I'm not sure what form that's going to take exactly. Self-service mobile. That's another one that more and more people are asking for. This is another one. This is actually, I have mixed emotions about self-service mobile. This is one where I explain, since we don't have it in particular, that nobody will use it. And the honest truth is, I don't think anybody's going to use it. If I'm an end user and I'm on my mobile phone, I'm going to send an email. There's no way I'm ever going to an interface, ever, in a million years. As a tech, I'm not going to a web interface. I'm going to send an email. I'm just not going to do it because I use email on my phone already. It's hard enough to get folks to use a web interface as end users when they're in front of their full-size desktop. So at any rate, it is tough. We are going to do it.
Yeah, it seems like it would work best on like tablets. I would guess if companies, are investing heavily in tablets to give to their users or specific users, it might be more useful on that than on phone. So I could kind of see that, but I'm kind of with you, Mike.
I would still.
Tablet, you can kind of use the current self-service. A tablet is really big enough for the current version of self-service, I think. And I might actually have one to show. Yeah, I do actually, right here. Nice. There you go. There's a tablet. There you go, and it looks like boom.
A lot of times they want that, but then they have to realize that their server needs to be available to the outside world unless those tablets are going to be VPN'd in. So right there, most companies won't do it. So, yeah, but I send everybody out to self-service. I want my tickets classified when they come to me.
We're finding a lot more people are making it available on the web, and some folks are even doing it the way I do mine, which is the wrong way, but they're doing it anyway. So it's up to them. I use port forwarding. Our actual external for the company is in a proper DMZ, but my personal web is not. It's just port forwarding. But if you lock down the ports, you can be almost as secure. But again, here's self-service on a tablet anyway. Oh, and I had to download Safari because every other browser is now broken for showing mobile interface. So just as an FYI, if you guys ever show this, if you do demos, it will not work in Chrome, it will not work in Firefox, it will not work in IE. So you're really limited.
That looks good.
But yeah, this is how I've been showing it the last couple of months anyway, through here. Okay, let's see. Select attachments for emails. This one I will personally like because I have conversations that I've had back and forth with customers for months, and I get to the point where I have you know, like 40 attachments of various errors and documents and whatnot, and I want to include something else new, but I don't necessarily need the existing 39 attachments to go along with it. But I also don't want to delete them because I want to maintain them in the ticket for historical purposes. And there's no way around that right now. So selecting attachments is going to be a big one for me. And obviously it's come up at least some or it wouldn't be in here. Creating a work order from an asset. I've never had anybody ask for that. Somebody must have wanted it, though, because they're going to be able to do it. Calendar we talked about. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
The self-service conditional fields. The suspense is killing me.
That is, you know, I didn't have a chance to look at that one until I saw it earlier today as well. I'm guessing it's similar to the conditional required fields that we have now in Track-It, in combination with potentially the fact that it'll be a footprinty type feature, meaning
with dependencies.
Yeah, exactly. If you select software, you get these 3 fields. If you select hardware, you get these 2 fields. Something like that.
Yeah, as opposed to doing it through the XML.
Right.
Yep.
Which right now there's just when we talk about it, we talk about one form. Self-service web is just it's the one thing. You can make your ticket form look like this, but it's always going to look like this.
Right.
Because I select something here, different things aren't going to happen. That's always going to be the same field, and that'll change in the 12 to 18 month time frame. And I'd probably say closer to 18 than it is 12 at this point, I'm guessing, unless we pick up the pace at some point, which you never know. Social media monitoring, I don't know if they're clear what form that's going to take. That's kind of borrowed from the whole remedy force concept. And I don't even know, is Footprints doing any of that today?
Yeah. And I was going to ask, I mean, that's the one thing, only colleges are the ones that want to implement anything to do with Twitter or Facebook when it comes to support. Those are the only companies that have ever expressed interest. Most of them recoil with horror when they even think about that. So that's like, I'm glad that's low on the list.
Yeah, I guess I could see it there where you've got the kids that are already used to using it, and they're going to go in and complain about something, and instead of just having it sit out there as a complaint, it triggers a ticket maybe. I can kind of see that. But, yeah, and I would imagine it would be all, and I imagine we're borrowing from Footprints and from Remedy Force for that. And then that's really it. That's all we've got in the roadmap, and some of this is shuffled, you know, over the last several weeks. Based on a whole slew of different factors. Don't have anything to show you, really, as far as what it looks like, but it'll look good. I think it looks pretty good. I changed out, for instance, I got sick of the old school style here, so I replaced all my icons in here and cleaned this up a little bit and added custom logos in here. So I did quite a bit because it just started to look dated, but honestly, it now looks dated to me yet again. I still don't like my icons. So we're kind of doing away with that and getting a really clean look in the new version. So very visual. Oh, the visual look of different notes is going to be a lot better now as well. Right now, for instance, when you look at a ticket, you just kind of have the full, you know, stream. Everything's in a single column here. You have some color coding in the web interface here. Right now, you're going to have a node cocked to the left, next node cocked to the right, next node cocked to the left, in addition to background coloration as to what type of node it is. So it's very visual, very simple. So it's easier to read than this and clearer than this, and it does more than this. So it's all really good. Again, I kind of wish I had something to show you, but I don't. So what do you think? What's in here that you expected that you didn't see? What do you want to see if we can try to shoehorn it in? Anything big that you guys get that I haven't talked about here?
Let's talk about the full web solution that's coming out in the next 6 to 12 months. That's going to be version 12, correct?
That'll be 12, correct.
Okay, and what platform is that developed on? Is that Java?
Yeah, it'll be Java.
Okay. When do you think that's going to come out?
If I had to guess right now, I'd say probably beginning of April 2016.
Okay. So that's really the big thing is possibly April. That's when all these a lot of these features are going to come in.
Exactly. That's the one. The next 6 months is you know, it'll be kind of cool stuff, but it's not the big deal. The big deal is really going to be 12.
Okay. Who's going to do all the QA testing? Is Josh Neal still there?
He's still here in theory. Yeah, he's literally in Houston, but
okay.
I don't know if he's going to do anything with Track-It or not. He's been under footprints forever. So I don't know that he will look at it.
Who does the QA testing for Track-It?
I actually don't know. I think it's just done by the folks in Pune. I don't know if we have anybody in the States that's doing any of that. Of course, we'll all take a look at it, and with you know, when they move to the agile aspect of dev, it got a lot better, and we're not seeing, you know, the quote-unquote finished product 3 weeks before a release anymore. We're seeing bits and pieces, and we're seeing the design elements about every 2 to 3 weeks. We're seeing bits and pieces of it. So we get the chance to critique it and break it and, hey, try this in it. Does this work? No, that throws an error. Better clean that up, that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit, the development life cycle is completely different. So it has much less chance of being Track-It 8, put it that way.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, that's what we all wanted to hear. So speaking of that, you know, once this is available, is this going to be migratable for folks that are on like Track-It 10 or Track-It 11, that they'll be able to just drop in 12 and migrate everything, or is it going to be like when you try to go from one Footprints version to another?
No, I don't even know how Footprints does it, but no, you'll be able to migrate. It won't be an in-place like we are now, because it's going to be significant enough code change where that's not practical. But it'll be a migration thing, kind of like the old school migration, but probably better, better indexing and slimmer code behind it, given the use of Java.
So kind of like just like copying the stuff out of the database over to a new one, that kind of thing.
Right. They'll just write a routine, and they could work. Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, given the way that they're developing, they're probably building it into the way that they've done all of the development. They're doing it in bits and pieces along the way. So whereas previously non-agile development, what you end up with is okay, here's the finished project. Now let's get a guy starting to write the import routine. That's kind of done all concurrently. Okay. So it's all a lot smoother.
So the XML files and stuff like that on the back end, will they still be available to us to manipulate after the rewrite for the self-service?
Don't know. I would imagine that the majority, if not everything that you're doing there, you're going to be able to just configure directly via the web interface itself, and you probably won't need an XML for it. I don't imagine a lot. I imagine maybe a few. They might be behind on an element or something here and there that they need to allow you to configure via an XML. Okay. There's a lot of stuff in the current version of Track-It that, quite frankly, and I don't know who was last there. You were there a while ago, Mike. But do you remember when they moved Track-It to ZST, right? That sound familiar to anybody there?
When they moved what?
To ZST versus ESM?
Yeah, like 3 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's where products go to die, and they've pulled us out of the death bin. So we're getting more development, and we really had very, very, very limited development for really about a 2-year stretch. They did quite a bit with the limited resources that they had over that period of time, but it was fairly limited, and we're not there anymore. So we're getting money and we're getting resources, and they're serious about actually making money on it, given that we're profitable, even though they tried to kill us.
So you asked the question, is there anything here that I was kind of hoping for? And of course, I've already alluded to the fact that I'd like to be able to base decisions off of some of the other fields in event policies and things like that. But one of the other ones that I don't really know that this is idle per se, but it's just you know, it's to me it's an extension of the functionality that already exists in Track-It, is to sequentially to dynamically choose an approver. It would be nice, because the way it works now is I have to write a change management policy, and I have to be very exact with who approves that particular ticket. Most of this stuff is done by roles now. So, you know, if the category is hardware, I'd like for it to go to the hardware manager, and I'd like some sort of some more flexibility with that. Or if the category is software, then it goes to this person. Or if it's this type of software. And right now you have to write a rule for every single one of those, as opposed to if we were able to say, okay, send it to this field for approval every time, that would give me some more flexibility. But like you said, it's not footprints. I get that. So the salespeople sometimes don't like me because I love Track-It. Track-It does everything footprints can do, very generally speaking, and to build out the functionality such as library, which I absolutely love, and the training mod, we've had to do that in footprints before, and it takes days, if not weeks. But I agree that training module is it's no good. The only thing that I use it for, and I do take the time to show people it, because of it's also a view into my LDAP. I use that to pull reports from my LDAP. The training module lists out all of their contact information. So I usually present it to my customers, you know, yeah, for that reason. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now on change management, the way I have mine built out, and there are definitely some limitations, no doubt.
Yeah.
Now, role-based would be nice if, for instance, if you had a hardware request here and your first-level approver was the immediate manager, and we were able to put a wild card in here that said immediate manager, and it pulled that automatically.
That's a great feature.
The closest now, and I do tell people to do this if it makes sense, is boom, change made to appropriate approver. So this is literally just a placeholder. So you could have the first level or multiple levels be a placeholder, and all this is it's just a non-human in here.
Okay.
Then what you can do in conjunction with that, and what I kind of really subtly push because I mention it, what I do is when I bring users in from AD, one of the fields that I pull is the manager field from Active Directory. So I just take text one, I relabel it the manager, and then I pull the manager field from AD. That way, the idea here is if you have a hardware type approval policy or any kind where you need the immediate manager, what you can do is you basically throw your user in here, and then when you know you've triggered change management and you have a generic approver, you just double click in your requester and you find out who that manager is. Now,
okay, well, that's not something I would have thought of. That's good. Thank you.
Now, given that we can get to that point, it's not too big a leap to think that we can put some more dynamics behind that. So, and we almost certainly will. Although it's not laid out in here, it's something that I've talked about a little bit. I just haven't gotten any kind of a commitment as to whether or not we're going to do that.
So you're using I'll talk, this is, Mike, I think I'll talk to you about this offline because I want more info on that. You're just creating kind of like a fake assignee. Is that assignee, and then when the change management policy is applied, it changes the assignee, is that right?
No, it's just going to come in as that generic person when the policy is triggered. So let me show you. I can show you what it looks like here real quick. We're going to go in and I'm just going to change my hardware one here just real quick. Hardware request, and we're going to change me. I'm going to keep it easy on myself. We're just going to add. So we'll make it 4. Boom, there you go. And then when you have a new ticket, let's see, just pick Samantha. We're going to make this a hardware request. Want new thing. Old thing is old There we go. I lack imagination there, so we're going to go with request in my build, hardware, and we're going to go laptop. Okay, and then we're going to trigger that. Boom. It's going to trigger change, hardware request.
Okay.
And so then now this is where discipline comes into play. So your tech sees that it's change management. Now your tech needs to be disciplined enough to come over here and see that it says change me to appropriate approver, and then double click on Samantha, find out that Samantha's manager is Ed Riley there. Boom. Then come in, change approver here.
Okay.
So, and pick Ed from here.
Okay, that's a good workaround. That's a good word. That would have come in handy. Good, good, good. Thank you. I know this meeting wasn't about that, so thanks.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, if you have those little things, I mean, it's possible that we've got a good workaround. I mean, I still get workarounds from other people, you guys, that are out in the field coming up with creative solutions too, every now and then. So, yeah, I'm happy to share. Oh, before I forget, the other thing I wanted to recommend on development is the developer circle. Have you guys seen that for Track-It? Does that sound familiar at all? Developer circle? Let's see if we have anything else.
Yeah, I'm working on my NDR for it right now.
Okay. I don't know if we directly have anything out there on it or not.
Yeah, you sent something to us at one point, Mike. You did, or Chris Coffey did, or Bill Master did. And I think I sent that out to Emil, Brandon, Linda, and Terry.
Chris would have. I had much lower expectations for that than what he's getting. I think he has 300 some odd people signed up for that already.
Okay.
Which is going to be tremendously helpful. What that gives us is it gives us, it's an additional way to QA. It's getting stuff into beta and getting people out in real life in various dynamic situations to kind of pound on it a little bit and then give feedback. So that's ultimately what that is. So that's a lot better than automated testing, definitely. we know from experience. It's safer anyway. All right. So what questions does anybody else have? Anything else left you with?
Nope.
Nope.
It looks great. Stop making it so easy so that way pro services can get some.
Yeah, if you ever get any screenshots of, what that web interface is going to look like, we'd love to see that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. As soon as I'm able to send out any kind of a mock-up, I don't have any. I have a couple recordings, but that's it. I don't have any mock-ups or access. They don't want to give it to me. They know I'm in sales.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. This was helpful.
Hey, no problem, guys.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thanks, Mike and Mike. Bye.